my truth in regard to what intimacy is shared vulnerability. So that means I'm willing to share who I am and my truth with you in exchange for you doing the same thing. And my desire is to have all of my interactions and all of my relationships be intimate. So obviously that means that not every intimate relationship I have is sexual. I desire to have an intimate relationship with my son, with my partners, with the mailman, with you. Right here, sitting here talking on this podcast, I'm going to look at you in your eyes when I speak and sit and listen to your words and expect that you do the same to me. That's intimacy. And a lot of people are using sex to create intimacy, which I think we're seeing doesn't really work.
Boy Yates from Atlanta, aka Wakanda.
Girl from Portland, Oregon, you already know.
When you deal with so much, it's easy to feel like this is all there is.
A man is somebody who admits that they're wrong and builds on that and grows from that.
Yes, sir. Back at it again. Back at it like a crack addict. Drunk Tours podcast in the building. It's your boy Yates from Atlanta, aka Wakanda.
And I'm your other host, Jarrell from Portland, Oregon City, Rose. You already know.
And who we got today, bro?
Today we got a special guest today, a friend of mine and also a spiritual coach of mine, Jasmine. Miss Ari, what's up?
Hey, I'm Jasmine Ariel. You can call me Ari.
All right, Miss Ari. What we talking about today, bro?
All right, today we talking about, is it possible to build a relationship without sex, and also is it possible to be intimate without sex and just physical pleasures? So, you know, we're gonna start with you.
What you think about that?
So first, I think it's important that we address what the word intimacy actually means, because I feel like society uses the words intimate and sex interchangeably, and they don't mean the same thing. I actually think most of us are having sex without intimacy, and that's the issue, so to speak.
Okay.
So, what's your definition of intimacy? Should I start intimacy? Should I start?
I mean, we can kind of go first, and then we'll come back and say what you think.
Go ahead, Deborah.
I would think intimacy would be like, I don't know, kind of like the candid moments, like, you know what I mean, like when someone's down in the household or something like that, and y'all have that moment where you're consoling each other or something like that. I think that's like an example of intimacy. I think like doing something y'all both enjoy together, you know what I mean? I think that's intimacy. I guess it's just sharing interests in a sense, like sharing moments, particular moments that just, you know, hold a little bit more weight than others, and I think that's intimacy to me.
That's an interesting question. Intimacy. I guess the way I would describe intimacy would be purely not focusing on self and being completely, concerned about the other person, where it's not really self-reliant, more loving, more sacrifice, more for the other person, I guess, what I would consider intimacy.
Okay.
As opposed to sex. Sex is, about me.
Right.
Okay. And that's interesting too. We should come back to that. So my truth in regard to what intimacy is shared vulnerability. So that means I'm willing to share who I am and my truth with you in exchange for you doing the same thing. And my desire is to have all of my interactions and all of my relationships be intimate. So obviously that means that not every intimate relationship I have is sexual. I desire to have an intimate relationship with my son, with my partners, with the mailman, with you. Right here, sitting here talking on this podcast, I'm going to look at you in your eyes when I speak and sit and listen to your words and expect that you do the same to me. That's intimacy. And a lot of people are using sex to create intimacy, which I think we're seeing doesn't really work. And the things that you said are really good exercises to build intimacy. So I think it's important that people do things. Do you practice what you preach, though? But I think it's important that we build intimacy before we have sex, because that just makes it good. That's what makes sex good.
Okay, so now that makes me want to question something else, because if you are so vulnerable with everyone you meet, so open to allowing somebody into you as an expression of your love for everybody, does that lead to a lot of hurt?
I think it could. If a person doesn't have boundaries, if a person doesn't know what they're willing to share and what they're not willing to share and why they are willing to share what they are, then that does lead to pain.
No, I'm saying you personally.
No, because I understand my boundaries. Now, that doesn't mean I don't, make mistakes in judgment sometimes and still, have relationships that don't end up the way I want. But like I said, for example, the mailman, it was actually a mail woman today. I literally came across an interaction with a mail woman. I had something today that I wanted to go outgoing but didn't feel like dropping off to the post office. So I stopped and I genuinely asked her how her day was going. I listened for the answer because I cared. I looked at her in her eyes as I spoke to her and asked her if I could give her my outgoing mail. That was an intimate exchange because I was actually interested in her energy, willing to accept whatever she gave me, and genuinely interested in sharing what I wanted to share. So when we speak about vulnerability, that doesn't mean I'm always sharing things that put me in a position to be hurt. It just means I'm sharing the real me.
So how often are you vulnerable to the extent where it's actually a risk for you? Because it almost sounds like you know yourself well enough to understand that a lot of people aren't vulnerable people. So any level of vulnerability from yourself could seem extremely genuine to that person and could almost be used as manipulation. Not saying that's what you're doing, but how often do you really give something that's risky? Does that make sense? Because it's impossible for me to give you, to be completely vulnerable and risk hurting myself. I give you, let's say, a deep dark secret, right? I give you a deep dark secret that could come back to bite me. I can't really do that in a way where I'm manipulating you because you have so much leverage now. You get what I'm saying? That makes sense? So how often does that happen?
This day, right now, it doesn't happen often because I'm very careful with what I choose to share. I learned from an author named Brene Brown that in order to be vulnerable doesn't mean I'm putting things out, especially not things that I'm going through at the moment.
For sure.
So usually what I share, if I'm going to be vulnerable and share things as it comes to, something that I learned from, something that hurt me, something that can be triggering. It's something that's happened in the past that I've already healed from. It's something that I've accepted and integrated in my body so that it's something that if anybody brings it up, I'm not ashamed. I can stand in it. That way it doesn't hurt me. However, in the past, before I knew myself as well as I do now, I feel like I used to almost overshare in an attempt to build intimacy, and that can bite you in the ass. So that's why it is important to know why you're sharing what you're sharing. Are you sharing it because you just really want somebody to be close to you? Are you sharing it because you're just comfortable with who you are and you're okay with saying that?
So that was a little bit of a setup question because it brought me to my next question. When was the last time you did share something extremely close to the chest, and what made you share it with that person?
The last time I shared something close to the chest. I would say, so I have a really intimate friendship with one of my girlfriends that I would say I share things that I don't talk about with most of the world with. And then and what made me share. Okay, I got a good one. Okay. That's not boring. So yeah, I share stuff with my girlfriend. Her name is Yasmin. We're like twins. But so me and my son's father, I have a son who's 45.
You don't have to share what you shared.
No, I just want to set the stage.
Gotcha.
me and my son's father, I have a son that's 4.5. Me and my son's father have a really good relationship. And I was recently sharing with him my reasons in wanting to get mental health counseling.
Okay.
And that was a big deal, you know, because we don't talk about our daily lives and like what we're struggling with every single day or like what we may be feeling. And I shared that with him. And I shared it because I thought it would be interesting for him to know more of who I am and where I am at this time in my life. So yeah, again, just sharing truth.
What made you want him to know? What urged you to think I want him to be more a part of my life right now?
More part of my life.
I'm saying because you said I shared it with him so he could kind of see where I am mentally, emotionally, like where I am right now.
Oh yeah.
What made that like prevalent in that moment? Like, you know what? I want him to know where I am. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So as it pertains to the word intimacy, what we're talking about, I thought it was important for him to intimately know this me. So like we were having a conversation off camera just a minute ago, and Jarrell is, you know, a really good old friend of mine, but it's been a minute since I've talked to him daily. You know, I don't know exactly who he is. I know it's a different person than who he was years ago, and I thought it'd be important for me to tell my son's father that this is where I am today is a little different, so that way you know more of who I am in our daily conversations. If you're asking something of me, or if I show up differently, right? Because we're raising a child together. If I show up differently, or if I need this, this might be why.
So what do you think about Jarrell, since you've known him longer? Not in any other kind of sense. I'm saying
She don't know me in any other kind.
in his evolution and his thinking. Do you think he's evolved in the time that y'all have known each other?
I mean, we all are. And I think I would like to say that I am a pretty deep thinker. I'm really interested in my evolution. I'm interested in growth. And I know that everybody that comes across my path, even me sitting here with you today, it's because there's resonance on some level. So if he in my life, that means
He's supposed to be there?
Yeah, we got to be resonating on some level. And I know I'm growing every day. So I'm pretty sure everybody else around me is too.
So let's steer into because we were talking about, we got out that portion, like what we kind of think intimacy is and how it's important, but still the question is can you build a relationship without having sex and just intimacy? So just having those intimate things you think that is enough for someone to get over of that feeling of like head over heels for someone type stuff, you know what I mean? Like type love.
I think you can build a relationship without sex. You can build a relationship without intimacy. I think a relationship without intimacy is going to be built on really shaky foundation. And I also think sex and sexual exchange is very important in a romantic relationship. So
without it, is it a romantic relationship?
I mean,
what's romantic about a
what is
relationship
romance without
what else is it? That's a friendship, right?
So in the friend zone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a friendship, right?
But I think intimacy should be there before you actually have sex. So how comfortable are you with sharing who you really are? How comfortable can you sit across from the person that you're engaging with and look them directly in their eyes without shying away? Have y'all ever done that exercise? It's an exercise to build.
I mean, not with him, but
Of course.
So yeah, where you set a timer.
And you start leaning into each other,
You can, and you
it's natural. It's human nature. The longer you look at each other,
you may cry, you may laugh, you may feel urges to look away.
Why don't y'all try it?
I'm not trying that, man. Don't try to debate it on camera.
No, I mean,
no, but for real, like it's
Tell them how
I've done
important
it.
it is.
I've done it platonically. Like I'm a yoga instructor, and in my yoga teacher training, it was a part of our training to actually pair up and do that with each other. And our teacher set a timer, and she was speaking words and doing kind of like a guided situation. And we sat and looked at each other. And when I tell y'all, so many people were crying. And I did the same thing also when I hosted a retreat. I hosted a erotic wellness retreat. And we did the same exercise, and it puts you in such a vulnerable space because not only are you seeing the person across from you, but you are allowing yourself to be seen. If you don't feel comfortable doing that with a person that you're sharing your bed with, that you're sharing your body with, you should probably not be having sex.
I don't know how you look at me.
I'm at both of y'all.
No, I mean, but that's an important tantric practice. And like eye gazing, breath play, all of that is very important when it comes to being open with your partner and learning how to align, not only physically but mentally and spiritually, for sure. At the same time, is there a limit of people you can do that with?
Can I be really honest?
Yeah.
So I'm on a path of accepting like a tantric lifestyle where like what you're saying is just how I exist in the world, like where I am really consciously focused on deeply engaging with every part of my life. And at this part of my life, in the past, the last relationship, whatever, might have been different. But at this stage in my life, I am only interested in engaging with other people who can meet me on the same level.
How has that been, trying to find those people?
So it's not a search for me right now. It's more so just me focusing on who I am so that I attract them in. But I will say I have been abstinent for 10 months. And I don't know how much longer that's going to But,
Why is that?
Well, I asked, so
You need sex with intimacy.
well, when I say I don't know how much longer that's going to be, I'm actually dancing with the idea that it may be much longer. Okay. One of my teachers has been abstinent for 8 years. And that's not something I want at all. I love sex. I love pleasure. I love to feel good. I'm very in touch with my body. I love orgasm. I thank God every day for my ability to feel pleasure in my body. However, I want that and all the other things. And as a true tantric yogi, as my teacher said, I'm not attached to anything. I'm not attached to the idea of a relationship. I'm not attached to the idea of sex. I can focus mostly on, who I am and how I've shown up in the world, how I'm sharing my gifts. Even sitting here with y'all today on this podcast, that brought me joy. This is orgasmic pleasure. I don't have to have somebody to go to bed with tonight because this feels good too,
You're welcome. This is what we do here at Drunk to the Pocket. I'm just joking.
Make you have an orgasm on stage.
No, but speaking of a tantric lifestyle, that is important.
Yeah.
Have you experienced, because I've indulged in the tantric lifestyle before, have you got to a point where you experienced a separation from kind of the world and kind of started to feel, not saying this has to happen,
I think I know where you're going.
kind of start to feel like completely separate from the things that you used to like love and enjoy, even such as sex?
Yeah. I don't know what else to say. Yeah. And some people like to consider like this phase is like the dark night of the soul, where it feels like you're so detached from your old life and you kind of have to regain this new identity for yourself. And I feel that because I'm just coming back from Mexico. I've only been back in the States for maybe like 3 or 4 weeks. And yeah, it feels that way very much so to me. And it is in this space of darkness that I'm forced to like be reborn again, connect with, who I am and what I really want. And that's going to give me the power to attract, my reflection. No matter how long it takes, I think I'm willing to wait.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's super dope.
Yeah.
How is it having a mentor? Because like, I'm an overly obsessive person, so I was pretty self-taught and I was introduced to it, by someone And from there, I just overly obsessed into research to the degree where, I taught myself everything, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then I grew to the point where I stopped enjoying things. Mm-hmm. And then I slowly weaned myself off, right? And it sounds like you basically got comfortable in the space of saying, I'm comfortable not being comfortable until I can work my way through this process and be essentially like Kundalini comfortable, mm-hmm. like in your everyday life. How is that? Because I wasn't willing to do all of that work. Because on the other end, you may be alone. Yeah. That's really what should be. There's a good chance that you will work all the way through this process. You will become so enlightened that you will have complete understanding, like not just sexually, but in every realm of life. And you may not ever find a match who can, meet you there.
That is very true.
How do you feel about that?
I don't think there's any, I think everybody's path is right? Mm-hmm. This is just the path that I've chosen for me. Mm-hmm. I'm a very, I guess what people would say is like I would say I'm a deep person. That means that surface level conversation, surface level thought, doing things just because that's what the crowd is doing, doing mm-hmm. things because it's the popular thing doesn't do anything mm-hmm. for me. So I have to be really passionate about it, and I gotta feel it mm-hmm. to want to do it. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to this life, mm-hmm. I gotta feel it mm-hmm. to want to do it, Mm-hmm. So with that also comes sacrifice. That means I don't walk mm-hmm. in the same direction as other people. I have to be okay with knowing that I don't get to go out and play the same way that other people do and get the same enjoyment mm-hmm. because that's just not how I'm built. Mm-hmm. And I've accepted that, this is my path and that's okay. That doesn't mean it's always easy. I have my dark days too. Mm-hmm. I've talked to Jarrell about some of that. I have my ups and downs. Mm-hmm. I'm in therapy. I have not only a regular therapist, but I have a spiritual guide as mm-hmm. well. And I also have, friends and trusted people. It's not easy. I have my dark times. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I know what really feels good to me. Mm-hmm. I know what pleasure is to me. Mm-hmm. And it's not none of this surface level shit. I like to go deep. Yeah.
That sounds like, because like I said, I'm a very realist, logical, and also I understand exactly where you're coming from. But I'm overwhelmingly logical mm-hmm. at my base, right? That sounds like chosen suffering, which is how I would describe love. Mm. So is that what is enticing about it to you? Because like you said, you enjoy knowing that you're deeper by choosing this pain. It will give you a message that now when you speak to someone, you can speak from a more understanding space. You can understand pain at a deeper level because you're choosing it. Like suffering, when it's a choice, gives a lot of lessons, right? Considering you're saying, I'm in a space now where I'm choosing these lessons. I'm choosing this pain mm-hmm. for the greater pleasure of whatever comes after it. Mm-hmm. Would you call that love?
Well, at the premise, I wouldn't say that this path is like choosing holy pain, like all pain.
Mm-hmm. Well, not holy, but majority.
Yeah, I think every path has its ups and downs. Mm-hmm. I just would rather these downs than these.
That's right.
These over here actually hurt me a lot more. Okay. I'd rather have the downs that come from being alone mm-hmm. than being with somebody and not genuinely being connected. Mm-hmm. And to me, if it were me actually choosing a path of pain, it would be the other way. It would be what I used to do. So it's just, I don't know. I'm just at a place right now where I really know who I am. A lot of my life, a lot of my work around yoga is around pleasure, right? Like, so I got into yoga because I had a baby and I felt numb to life. I felt numb in my body and I wanted to feel good. So this feels better to me. If all paths got pain, I want these bruises, scratches, and scars as opposed to these, I
like it.
Yeah.
I like it. What you think? We good?
Yeah, I'm soaking it in too.
I think we're good. I don't need to keep digging in the well, water keep coming up, Let's thank our people for showing up to this documentary about how to become a better person. No, but shout out to family, man. Appreciate y'all for tapping in. Why don't you go ahead and give them your social media so they know where to find you.
On Instagram and Twitter, it's at Jasmine Ariel. It's JASMINE AURIELLE. All of my links are there. Be sure to join my email list so that I can send you love notes. Yeah,
that's sweet. That's dope. Give us an example of a love note.
I just like to remind everybody that they're God. And I use poetic words to tell them that.
That's all.
I like it. All right, make sure y'all tap in all social media accounts. You already know Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the good stuff. We on Apple Music as well. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe.
Apple Podcast.
Yeah. There it is.
So Spotify, Apple Podcast, all that. Shout out to family, man.